Hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Chronicles. I'm Chronic. This is Krissy, my beautiful wife. Happy Saturday, Sunday to you, wherever you are in the world. We appreciate you joining us. This is going to be a really special episode for us. We're interviewing a project that it's very near to our heart. Krissy's first mint on Cardano. It's one of our favorite long-term plays, Equine NFT. So we got Marek and Nick here today. They've taken the time out of their busy weekend to come and update us on the project and just to touch base because it's been a long time coming for us to have them on the channel, Krissy.
It has been. I'm so excited. We've been talking about this for so long. This was my first mint. The white paper is the reason that I even got into NFTs because you tried hard beforehand and I couldn't grasp it. So their white paper really helped me to understand and get really excited about investing and breeding and racing, all about it. So I can't wait to actually talk with Marek and Nick one-on-one, with us and hear what they have to say.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's time to bring on in our special guest, Krissy. And everybody in the chat, as they fill on in, welcome. I've seen Timmy with
Timmy.
Cardano Ecosystem News. What's going on, Timmy? Thank you for being here.
Hey, Stitches. What's up,
Krissy,
fam? I'm going to go ahead and add them in. All right. Here is Nick. Hello, Nick. And here is Marek.
Hey,
what's up, everybody?
Marek, good morning. Good evening. Thank you again for taking the time out of your busy, Marek's morning over there in Shanghai, China, and Nick's moving around with his 1-year-old little boy, always,
just went to bed here in Montreal. It's about 8 p.m. So it's bedtime for babies.
Oh,
so, man,
thank you guys again for joining.
For them. It's been a long time coming, guys. How you guys doing this weekend?
Doing good. We Saturday's my non-working day. We've got a lot of meetings on the Sunday. But yeah, so that's my one day of the week where I'm chilling. So
thank you for being here then on your normal day off when you're so busy already. We appreciate it a lot. What's welcome. Up, Marek?
Oh, all good. It's a long weekend here, so always nice getting in some extra time, organize a few things, and a bit hectic day actually. I had someone coming just before before we started to pick up something that I sold, and have someone coming just after the chat here. So it's gonna be busy, but in a good way. So all good.
Awesome. Great. Well, did you guys, I know normally you guys would have some AMAs on Saturday mornings. Is that correct? Did you guys have one?
It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
the
Sunday.
town hall. Yep.
Town hall.
Yeah,
okay, perfect.
It's number 11,
to
right?
Sunday. We moved this to Sunday because one of our internal meetings, like we do regular meetings of 4 of us twice a week usually, more often if we need to. So probably the next few weeks it will become again more often. And we moved it for just the schedule challenge issue from Saturday to Sunday. So we wanted to move town hall after the meeting. It makes sense. We discuss what's the latest, and then we can share with all of you. It's definitely one of those interesting challenges we have as a team because, we are all across the globe, right? Australia, Qatar, China, Canada. Some of us are always there very early in the morning, especially Nick. And some of us are late, right? Zach usually doesn't start meetings before 10 p.m. when it comes to equine, which is quite a logistic challenge.
Yes.
And people don't even take that into consideration, being worldwide and your team and just just to be able to converse and speak and, it's the sleep times all over the place. So, but yeah, guys, do you real quick before we dive in anything, I'm like usually all over the place. I know you guys are more so to the point on, can you give a brief, rundown on Equine or Equine NFT platform for us?
The platform, the
Just
dApp.
the project itself. My bad. Just
project,
give me like
yes.
my bad. Yeah.
Anyone who doesn't know about Equine, kind of what would you give them an introduction to it?
Did you want to go, Marek, or am I taking?
Sure, I can start. So, at its core, Equine NFT is a horse racing and breeding game, which we are developing on Cardano. The core idea behind it is to be able to own your own digital horse, right? So the obvious use for NFT here is that you actually own that NFT. You can decide what you want to do with it. And it's separate from kind of what we will do to enable it to be accessed in the game. We wanted to make it accessible but also complex, and I'm sure Nick will geek out a little bit about some of the systems he's building in on top of the core engine a bit later. But we want to give people a chance to just come in, have an NFT either through our sale or through the secondary, or in the future by buying freshly bred horses. Just get it and play, right? Join the races, have fun. But also, if they want to spend time, look at the statistics. We have some team members who are already super into the spreadsheets. That can give you the advantage, right? Like we will, of course, share some of the information about the horses, but we want to keep some of it hidden to make it a fun game. Just a small additions, like, we know we are not the first horse racing game on the blockchains. We are the first on Cardano, but we learn from others, and we kind of try to make it as realistic as possible while keeping it fun, right? So we have Zach, who is our chief advisor, who has been breeding and racing horses his whole life, right? So we can ask him exactly how things are done and try to replicate as much as possible. And when I say realistic but fun, we don't want to include things like your horse can break a leg, right? Or the fact that not every single breeding session ends with the horse, right? So we are trying to take away the not fun parts while still keeping it kind of rooted in reality. And then we are adding the fun parts like skins, right? So of course, if you are a purist, just race your horses with your jockeys that are part of the system. But if you want your horse to be a demon horse and you want your jockey to be a DJ, those things will be possible in the game. We wanted to kind of go very broad in terms of appeal, right? So we are starting Cardano. We met through Cardano. We all love Cardano and Cardano NFTs. But ultimately, our goal is to make it appealing to everyone, even people who are not in crypto right now, which will be a next kind of stage challenge. We are starting where we are because it's what we know the best.
Yeah.
I don't know, Nick, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I think one of the main thing that we did that made us really different for the horse racing game, I think, is there's a few big decisions that Equine took along its creation, but one of the big ones was deciding that horses would die. That's a huge decision to make, a huge call to make, to say your NFT will actually be an NFT of a dead horse, which we're trying to find ways to make cool, either be it a ghost or a trophy or something cool. But more on that when we got the art and we can show something. But deciding that they would die puts a lot of pressure in a very interesting way, I think, on the breeding and on the whole ecosystem of the game, which makes it's a big incentive on breeding. Even though your pioneer horses are kind of phoenixes and they can reincarnate and you get a random reroll, which is I think a huge boon for OGs. Cannot stress that enough. But I think it'll be a very cool thing, the pressure on the breeding and then your horses growing older and the stats changing. And I don't fool myself into thinking I was the first one to do DNA for breeding, but a good DNA system would actually, like, chromosomes being simulated and doing the chromosomal mix up for the babies and have that come out correctly. That'll be also very interesting because it's not random, right? I'm just not rolling a dice and giving you a baby of two parents, which would be kind of very sad.
Yeah.
But I did make it complex enough that it'll not just be A plus B is the average of the two horses, right? It's more complex than that. There's dominant genes and recessive genes, and it's hard. Like, you won't be able to just figure it out. I know that's not a challenge out there to people that want to reverse engineer DNA. I know you will at some point.
It's gonna take some time though.
And it should
Yeah.
take some time, yeah. And so, yeah, that was a big one. I think one of the other big decisions that made equine a success up to now was maybe the sale, making it open and being able to convey correctly that it was an inclusive sale rather than an exclusive sale, and that if you were there for the sale, you're an OG and that's it, right? We're not trying to, that the whitelist is that you were there. If you were there in December, that's the whitelist, right? You're so early that that's it. And I think that was a big deal, especially amongst all the botting that was happening during the sales, and trying to avoid a lot of the little issues that were still happening in minting. And that made it big, but that also made it that not like the only people that were really frustrated by this were scalpers, and I didn't care that much.
Yep.
So everybody that wanted to play the game could play the game. So that was I think those were the few good things that we did at the beginning. And maybe after that, I'm super glad that I'm on there as a physicist, and I can do the simulation engine, and we can make it as nerdy as I want. So that'll also be fun.
Love that.
I love it. And thank y'all. That's why I asked you to break it down. Both of you answered that so well. And Marek, your wife, is that correct, wrote the white paper? Did I remember that?
No.
Or
No. So she helped with kind of the marketing stuff, right? So she built the original teaser campaign, if you remember, from Twitter.
Sure.
I don't know if you've been there since the day one. It's been slightly over a year, right? We celebrated 1 year anniversary of announcement. Of course, that wasn't the 1 year of Equine, but
with the little egg that became a horse, right?
Yeah. So that was all her idea. She wrote like the first month of tweets, because the whole thing was also that we were building to release all the core information before Cardano Summit, because we knew we'll have a trailer at Cardano Summit, and so we kind of had to build it around. And she's now also helping with the website, with the what will be content of the website, writing news, writing the Twitter campaign for the release of the stables. She's a professional copywriter with like 17 years of 20 almost years now of experience. So yeah, she helped with that. And I also go to her if I want to make sure that something is written correctly anyway. So she did have a look at the white paper. White paper is more of a common build from our side, because we spend a lot of time on it. And we know we were quite late with it because people have been asking for it from day one. But it was also something we've been discussing for hours and hours, right? Like, one biggest challenges with game like that is to build it in a balanced way. We want to make sure everyone feels like they're having fun, right? So I think one thing that is very important for me personally, but also, well, for all of us, but I guess me and Fahad being more of a gamers, is that we wanted to make a game first that has a proper use of NFTs, rather than launch an NFT and try to fit a game into it, right? Which some projects do. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, right? It's just added utility. But for us, it's the game and the NFT's utility, not the other way around, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
And also we want to make it fun to play. So yes, if you play it well, if you win races, if you do the breeding well, there is, opportunity to make some money. But that's not kind of our main goal, right? Like, we never focus on things like floor prices. We really don't care, honestly. Yes, we check it from time to time, but it's not our main objective, right? We want to make a great game for everyone, and what comes with that, that's a bonus, right?
And when we talk, we're always talking about steady state economy, not the Ponzi feeling beginning when people are joining, when there's a lot of influx of money and it feels like you could get rich.
Yep.
Like we're trying to build it like, okay, when we're going to have a stable amount of players, what's going to be the breeding? What's the racing look like? What's the, and how would that work? And how to, the whole play to earn is complex, and how to get influx of money, like people are thinking about sponsorships and stuff like that, where money comes from outside, right? And then it can go to the players. Yeah. Because it's
sorry, I'm having problems completing your request.
Sorry.
Damn. Alexa, oh man,
yeah,
it's
Alexa,
the thermostat talking to
don't
us.
just barge into the conversation like
that. Was so rude.
So we've never talked about like the modeling the beginning, like it's always steady state thinking, and like this was a game from the beginning, and we're trying to make it steady. So it's the thinking behind it.
The reason I brought up the white paper is because it's so well written, so well thought out. I read it one time, and Kristen literally, she hated NFTs. Okay, she thought I was silly for 2 years. Okay, I said I broke it down. It felt like it took me 10 minutes to read. Obviously, it took me longer. I broke it down and probably had to start on page 8, 9, and then immediately went to the breeding mechanics and said, Krissy, look at this business plan. Think about what could be done. And everything y'all pointed out, from the 18 months, and the horses die, you re-roll. The pioneers are forever yours in perpetuity. Our kids can have these horses. The life lessons that you could teach our children on just the management of so many things, like a chore, like, hey, you could teach them so much education from this. And I can't wait. And right when we minted, this was her first mint. And she pulled a rose gray. I think we minted 15. We have 33. I mean, and then right after we started sniping, I realized, wow, they have different rarity and colors. You know what I mean? So we got like 2 smoky creams. So we went all like the rarest colors possible. CNFT.io kind of messed us up in that aspect. A lot of
NFT Jam did great. Yeah.
NFT Jam was amazing with the traits, but IO was like they didn't want to send them when the floor price was rolling. You know what I mean? So like I would have had the market on lock even more, Krissy and I. But so right then, y'all explained everything so well. And for someone like we just rode some horses in Kentucky the summer, like literally like 2-3 weeks, 4 months before, and I almost fell off the mountain. Never rode a horse in my life. She wants horses, and I'm like, no. And then when I realized, Zach's actually breeding horses, doing this real life, you're a developer, and like I told you yesterday on Space, is a genius, and you are a physicist. You're super smart, and you got the super dream team. It was like all coming to one. It's a dream come true, man, and I can't wait for. Everything y'all have hit on a roadmap has been on point. Y'all not maybe at one delay so far, but rest, you've been saying end of Q4 from jump. So, congratulations on, hitting all y'all, your deadlines and your roadmap so far, man.
Yep. Seems like you guys have it thought out so well. I mean, your white paper was written out so well understood. I skimmed it and I got it immediately and fell in love with the project, and then went back and really read it. And then what you guys have done over this past year and keeping the hype going, even though it's a slow build, that's what it needs to be. But you're able to keep everyone so excited and into it. You keep those underground invitationals going. You guys do contests. Everyone is just so excited about this project that the way you're doing it is so well. I think a slow build for something like this is more important. There's so much gamification about it. We have been talking about it since December, and we can't stop. We have more to talk about because there's so much you can do, and we're all figuring out so much more. I mean, we have a stable knots with Ada knots that, we're building guilds together, and you can do that in so many different paths. So, and that's not even racing, so amazing job. I just appreciate y'all, what you've been doing, and we are really excited for this. Can we get into the breeding real quick, if you don't mind? I've got a couple questions about that. So with the app that you're going to have, what is that going to look like? So one user is going to be a stable, right? And then multiple stables will be a guild. And so how is that going to be set up on the app? And what if you have separate wallets, things like that? What's the app going to kind of look like with being able to put that together? And then I can go into the more breeding questions, but I'm curious about the guild and how that will be on the app.
Yeah. Well, we chose to go the Web3 way. So your wallet is your account.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot have multiple wallets be a single account, because that doesn't work. That would require an email to be your account and then kind of linking the wallets together. So we're having the wallet be your account. So it's recommended to have all your horses in a single account, except if you've got enough horses, you want to do 2 stables and 2 different guilds, let's say, or something. That's up to you. You're free, right? That's the point of Web3. I don't even know that you've got 2 wallets and 2 stables if you want to.
Right.
So it's kind of recommended, though, to have that in a single one. Then your guild membership will give you a bunch of things like talking to your other guild members. That's obvious, but there'll be options. It flows all through the mechanics. So even in the marketplace, when you post an ad, there's always the option to put up a guild price. So a slightly lower, let's say, guild price. So selling something to a guildy member, even if you don't know, you'll have a discount on it if you want. So you can pick that out. Same thing for breeding. If you put your stallion up for studding, you can put a slightly lower price for guild members. So there's going to be a bunch of little mechanics, but we're trying to flow that all through the mechanic and have guilds be like a primary aspect of the whole thing. And there's a bunch of other different mechanics like tournaments and stuff that could have guilds. We're working the guilds into everything as much as we can. Like it's a primary mechanic that we're trying to go for. There's going to be leaderboards for guilds. So guilds are really all true.
That's exciting. I'm excited about that. We all are. Go ahead.
I love it. Just for the networking, it allows you to have access to 35 people, and just in Stable Knots right now we have 35 members, and who knows, I might have 200-300 horses, right? So, it eliminates me having to go track down who has a smoky cream, etc. So,
well,
and
we're gonna have the studding marketplace easily filterable, right? So you're going to be able to say, I'm looking for a stallion that's smoky cream, that's got a total stats of X, that's got whatever, that's got racing standard of class, whatever, so you can filter every stud and just say, okay, cool, that one, well, maybe it's too pricey by that time, right? Because you'll be super like, I want the best one, and then you'll go, why? Okay, well, my budget is actually, and then so just basic filters on the marketplace, right? I have a dream, though I can't promise it, that you could actually save a filter query and get notified when there's a new hit. Right? So that's just a dream. Up to now, I'm asking my devs to make that happen, because I would want that, right? I would want like that. This is my dream. The moment that there's a white horse that's got exactly those stats, that just tell me, right? And hopefully it's going to be not too pricey. And then you wait, and then you get a new notification. Okay, no, not yet. And
that
so
would
it's
be cool.
less annoying than just going every time and doing the same query.
That is music to my ears. I did not anticipate you having that search query like that. I was anticipating, like, literally December 19th, I was networking with other whales, trying to see what horses they had, to where I can then, when the time came a year later to breed, I didn't have to do that. So man, that's awesome. It's nice that you're doing a job. Are you guys participating in the game itself? Like Marek, you said you and Faha are big gamers.
Yeah.
I mean, how do y'all feel about it? Like
we
game to me.
You can answer, Marek.
Yeah. So it was another tough decision. Like, we had few of those big, in our eyes, big crucial decisions, like open mint. Mint price was a very controversial one as well at the time. Maybe not so much today, but one of them was exactly that, right? Like we obviously love our project and we would love to have some horses, but we realized that would be really unfair, because we know, and by saying we, it's mostly Nick, because he's building the engine, but like we technically have the access to behind the scenes. We can understand what is the hidden stats of the horses, which by definition people who play shouldn't. So we decided, no, we will not own the horses. We will not be racing in the direct game. Of course, we will do some testing and stuff like that before the game launches to make sure it's all fine. And Nick is playing thousands and thousands of simulations to make sure the engine is balanced and we don't end up with things we've seen in other games where every single race the horse is beating world record and winning by half a length or like full. Well, it can happen, right? There could be some amazing performances, but we wanted to make it rooted in reality, right? And that's another thing that we always remind people, that all our horses are race horses, right? So that means that even the lowest stat horse should have some fighting chance in the lower tier, of course.
It's
racing.
like being a bad Olympian.
Yes.
You're still way better than most people at that point.
Yes. And you still, and they will still grow, right? They're 2-year-old horses. The stats will evolve until year 6. Maybe he's a fast grower over time. Maybe not at year 2, but at year 6 he will be a serious contender. Well, probably not in the top class, but like middle class, right? So we will have this. But yes, we don't own horses. I will go further, and this might sound silly, but we went and also because the mint day was insane. We've been like really crunching to make that all happen to the last minute, and I sympathize with all those projects that try to launch and there is something happening wrong at the very last minute. If you probably ask me a week before the mint if we will be ready, I wouldn't be so sure. It happens, right? It's just there's so many variables happening. But anyway, it went so crazy that we actually didn't even mint horses for like marketing purposes. Right?
Yeah. So we have to buy them from the secondary.
Yeah, recently we had to buy them from secondary.
That is a great point that I did not even think about. That's very ethical of you guys, especially when you know the mechanics and you're building everything. Like, that's pretty awesome. And so thank you for that answer. I wasn't even thinking about that because that's like fair game. Y'all should be able to participate. But like you said, like if you have the slightest, advantage, hey. But like,
I know the DNA, right? So I can tell how your horse will grow. So I could buy a 1-year-old in your face and I'd be way better off. So that's
hey, Nick, thank you for pointing that out, man. That's very, very, like I said, ethical of you. So just for y'all that don't remember, on December 18th, it was a 24-hour mint. It was mint as many Pioneer horses as you could. There will never be another Pioneer horse mint, right? So Nick, you're relying on the breeding mechanics of me and other breeders that want to populate all these horses.
Right.
Do you foresee overpopulation, or are you worried about underpopulation, in the short or long term, right? Because like you may have to breed jockeys, right, to satisfy racing potentially in the future, right?
We will
not breed
the jockeys, but
breed. I'm so sorry.
We might drop new jockeys, and there's actually combinations of jockeys for personality that are simply not there yet. So there's already space. We left ourselves wide open for skins and jockeys because the effect on the overall game is not super. Like, it's big, but it's not as big as the horses, right? And if we come and sell new jockeys, nobody will scream that we're breaking the game balance, right? So that's easier. And the horses, obviously, the whole incentive for breeding is there. So for us, there's a huge issue of managing the incentive for breeding, how much profit people are going to make, like the price of breeding, this whole thorny issue. So that's what we're thinking about, but I'm sure we're going to be able to manage, like, since Pioneer horses are eternal and come back, and people that are super bored will just sell them. So if people want to go away from the game, they'll try to sell them, bringing in more active people. There's always going to be a way to bring back the horse population. So I'm not very scared of that. And Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think don't think that's going to be a problem.
Well, I think overpopulation was a bigger concern for us than underpopulation, because
Right.
like we left a little bit of door open when we communicate, saying like if we suddenly start the game and we get 50,000 people wanting horses and breeders just cannot breed fast enough, we would probably launch, but they would not be pioneers, right? So to make it very clear, the pioneers are the ones that were minted in those 24 hours. They will die like every other horse after the right age of 18. They start at age of 2, right? So they will effectively be dying a bit faster than the newly bred horse.
But you get a jump start.
Yes, they can race from the beginning, because you can only race as a 2-year-old. But once they die, you will get a token which you can use to reroll for another pioneer horse. So if you want to be very picky in wars, you could say, yes, there will be other pioneer horses, but the total amount will never change. So that means that even if your current pioneer horse is maybe not the best performer, even after it's fully grown up, once it passes away, you might roll for a top player, right? Or maybe you will be a bit less lucky. That's part of the gamble, right? And you could sell that token instead of minting the horse, right? And maybe someone will want to take that risk. So it does add an interesting mechanic.
Absolutely.
Do y'all have a price amount for the reroll yet?
20, huh?
No. Final economics of stable economy are not really in.
Okay.
Yeah, for the real roll, I think we said, it's gonna be more of a symbolic, right? We talked about 20 ADA. Obviously, we are being a little bit vague for 2 reasons. One reason is that I think some of those numbers will change, especially when it comes to cost of breeding and to some extent cost of racing, because we want to, like for breeding, we want to use it as one of the mechanics not to overpopulate, right? So we want to make it beneficial for proper breeding, of the good horses or good, interesting colors, etc. But we don't want people to over spam, which we know was a problem in some of the other games, right? Especially those that didn't have the mechanics to remove horses, right? So you suddenly go from 30,000 to 170,000 horses, and that might be a bit too much. However, the other element of it, and we see projects talking about it, and I think it's obvious. We all know 1 ADA is 1 ADA, but at the same time, the real life costs change with the ADA price, right? So we probably certain things like maybe racing entry will somehow be connected with that. Mostly, so it's worth the time, right? Because if ADA is 50 cents versus $2, maybe it's not. Maybe the entry has to be slightly higher, just so there is a benefit of entering, right? And also, from our perspective of building a business that hires people, etc., we obviously want to make sure that that these people have been paid and for the amazing job they are doing, right? Like we are so lucky. We got surrounded by some of the top talent. We have amazing people behind the scenes helping us with making sure that the company that runs Equine actually runs properly, actually runs in a legal way, that we not find out in 2 months that we suddenly have to pay more tax than we have money and, we'll say goodbye, right? That's not going to happen. We spend a lot of time, and we actually probably got 2 months stop almost on development just to make sure that everything is set up correctly. We have the proper company. We pay our taxes. We pay what's needed. We have the bank account, which is an interesting challenge when you have a company that is connected to crypto. Surprisingly, banks are not big fans of that and are not very happy to open accounts. But we managed to do that after a few months of struggles, let's say. But yeah, so basically this is kind of all connected, right? So another big challenge or big discussion is how to build an economy that is sustainable, right? Obviously, once we grow and we are big, that becomes less of a problem. But right now, we want to make sure that the money that we receive from the sale are really well spent on what needs to happen. And I can guarantee you that and I'm sure many project teams that are out there are facing that as well, is what we thought it will cost is never the what it is, right? Because there's a lot
Always.
of extra challenges, a lot of extra costs, and we are good. We were very lucky with everyone being so generous, right? So our war chest is still doing well. We still have plenty money to finish the game and run it for a while, even if there is no big profitability coming right away, right? So we are very comfortable with that. But at the same time, it is one of those elements, and I talk about it because I'm the guy who is there behind the scenes, stopping a little bit. Fahad going huge with his ideas because he's the idea guy, and oh, let's do this, let's do that. Yeah, let's do it. Maybe not right away. Maybe let's first make sure the game works.
Third release, right?
Yeah, we already have plans for like a V3, version 3, right? It's that's the other problem, is we have too many ideas, and I think, and it's always funny because like when you build a startup, you do have to have people who are super optimistic, who just assumes everything will work out, because otherwise, if you just take 4 realists, or as some people prefer to call it, pessimists with optimists with experience, let's say, then you will never start, right? You will just look at the numbers and say, well, it's too risky, right? But also it's good to have someone who can put that back in and put the brake where needed or focus where needed. So I think that's where we are right now, where obviously we are in this huge focus towards the stables, towards the CNFT con, which took more than we expected, honestly speaking, because there's so many small elements to navigate, like with the booth, with the merch, with
absolutely
just making sure everyone can make it. But we are very excited for that, because it will be first time 4 of us will actually meet in person.
Wow.
Right, which is quite
That'll
cool.
be fun. What do y'all have planned with CNFT Con? Big plans or?
I think we have a solid plans, meaning like, we are being cost conscious in a sense that like we don't want to blow a ton of money on an event where, we want to go there and be there and meet people and talk about equine and, make those connections in person, because, it's awesome to have Discord. Twitter can be kind of double-edged sword sometimes, especially when someone is opinionated like myself and Nick, right? we are quite loud sometimes, but it would be nice to meet people, build those, strengthen those connections, maybe rebuild some that got broken, because sometimes internet does silly things, or people do silly things on the internet, myself included. But we will have a booth. We will have few things there to make it fun. I think, but even stuff like design of the booth, we've been discussing till the last moment, because to be very frank, like we hired a designer, we had a very nice design based on our budget, and then we went to the people who build it, and they told us, oh yes, it will cost exactly 3 times more than what you were told it will cost.
Yes.
So then we could build it, but then I would rather spend that money on making
not worth it.
Right.
So
exactly.
there will be a nice booth. We'll have some nice stuff. There will be ways to win some things. There will be some merch. We are very excited to be there, and hopefully we'll meet a lot of people who are excited about equine, right?
We'll be there. We're excited. We'll be coming and finding you.
Yeah, definitely. We can't wait to meet. Krissy, can you pull up the website in a minute? Because I know I have we got a bunch of loyal supporters in the chat. Thank you guys all for joining. And if you have any questions, pop them on in there. Go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
I wanted to answer the comment. No, there's no incest in equine. Basically, there's a room. You could ask Zach about the diagram, but it's like second cousin. Minimum distance for breeding. And Krissy, you wanted to talk about breeding, and then we didn't.
Yes, so I definitely I was going to that after, and I appreciate
that sounds good.
Thank you for bringing that back.
I just wanted to say that we would never have hidden colors behind recessive genes, right? Never. That's not our style. Okay.
Great.
To say that.
Wonderful, because that's what's up. I love like how you said you learn from your competitors like D-Race and Pegasus and Zed Run, all on the other chains. That for one, like there was like 3 times the supply initially. Then, like you said, they might have had they may have never had mechanism. Now the supply is like 250 plus or something. The last time I seen one of them, so it's like wow. So I'm super happy that y'all thought of that, because right when I read the white paper, like I stated earlier, I'm looking at it now, breeding horses. Right when you said at 3 months, because your horses come, the pioneer horses start at 2 years old, right? They go to 18. So at 3 months or 3 years old, 1 month into the game, I could start breeding. I could push the breed button, and it's going to give me fully mature stats. As it's 6 months, you get to fully mature. At 6 years old, your pioneer horse is fully mature. So at 3 months with my smoky creams, I just want to say, hey, I'm going to risk being, it might be the fastest horse in the game after it fully matures, but I love the color and I want to start getting the ball rolling. I'm going to go ahead and push the button. And now all of a sudden my 140 goes to 166, right? And then it's just, that's what I go with. And I can start breeding 1 a month. If I have a filly, I can get 1 baby a month, and either like try to preserve them colors and genetics, even though there is hidden genes to where you're not guaranteed to get that color. You're more likely to get it correct if you're breeding 2 smoky creams,
Of course,
or stuff like that. So that was we're always trying to get a pair, Nick, Marek, you know what I mean, like smoky creams, amber cream 2s, gold creams, classic creams, Donalinos, amber champagnes, gold champagnes, and then in the whites and everything up. I wanted the lower the better, right? So I love like the Palmerinos. They only have like 3 colts I seen. So what do you need? A Perlino and a Donalino to make a Palmerino? So I'm already thinking, like that was immediately.
You could read that from Wikipedia.
Right. Well, thank you. I don't know that, but just in my mind, it's like it's too much. Nick. I
took the table from Wikipedia, right?
Okay,
that's good to know.
The genes of everything. Chart. So there's a mapping for the genes that makes sense.
I have that actually saved.
Not 1-to-1, because like it would be complex, but it's kind of close.
So perfect. So yeah. So then once we figured out, like obviously the colts, you got to get 5. I like to say the juice, but we're not going to say that. You know what I mean? You get 5 stud fees per month. You can, make, and that's other ways of getting passive income. It was just like, ding, ding. This is if you get like, fast horses to either race and people gonna, want those horses, or rarer colors, it seemed like a good business plan to me. So, that's what I wanted to, like, that was always my goal to breed with our initial pioneer horses, establish that lineage, and try to get it as established as possible. And then with the babies, the ones that we don't like distribute to the guild members and stuff through sale, we were going to maybe try to race and participate with them, right? And just to make sure that it's a horse management game, horse racing management game, I want to make sure I have 5-6 filly smoky creams out of the 15 that I could have. You know what I mean? Because I plan on breeding them 15 times. I'm gonna be a pimp, So yeah, man. So do I have that kind of down pack? Do I have that down, Nick, or like my I'm gonna be upset when the mechanics come out?
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. You can take your horse right away and start breeding, and then get that special color, and try to get the color and good stats, I guess, at the same time, probably, right? So you want to find the good match for your breeding pair. But and some people are gonna not care about color and go for pure stats, right? And they're gonna say, I don't care what color it is, I just want to win. And that makes sense too, right? So everything is fine. It's like real horse racing, I guess. I'm sure some people just want to have a white horse, but
there's gonna be all kinds of racers out there.
There's a question: how have you learned from other blockchains to make your game better? Well, we did look at the games that were already out when we started thinking about this, but we started thinking about this about 6 months before you guys learned about it, right? So it was very early, and we had a lot of those ideas about breeding, about dying, about everything that makes it what it is right now. But we are looking at what the other games are doing. At that time, it was mainly Zed Run, right? That was kind of the only one that people were talking about. then D-Race came out, and now Photo Finish came out, and there's a few of the other games on the other blockchains. We're looking into their mechanics and making sure that if there's something that seems to annoy everybody, make sure not to reproduce like egregious errors. And if there's something that's super cool and that we're like, oh, maybe we should, like, that's interesting, like we add a mechanic for that, maybe we should tune it so that it works. But mostly we haven't changed much. It's been mostly like avoid X, or I hate the animation of Y. There seems to be no weight behind the horse. It seems to be just running along a hardwired like thing, and I hate that. There's no like motion. It seems to have a center of mass that goes forward and backward every gallop, or the time of flight is wrong. Anyway, so there's a bunch of little things that we look at other games and say we're gonna try to do that better, or stuff like that. So that's mostly it. The other decisions were taken, I think, in the void, right, Marek? Before we looked at anything, or like a racing game should be like,
So actually, people might not even believe us when I say it, but when the discussion originally started, because it was like the way it started was Fahad and Zach talking, and then Nick and myself joined in, but they actually didn't even know Zedrun exists. So they were like, hey, let's build something together. You know how to breed and race horses.
Right.
Let's make a horse racing game, right? So a lot of core mechanics and discussions happened before that. I think also, and maybe it's just coincidence, maybe it's just others, thinking what should be the right way to do it. But we do see things that were not happening before showing up after our white paper was published. Which is good, right? Because that means what we are doing is probably something others consider to be the right way to do. I think that's the beauty of the blockchain, is that there is a room for more than one of those games. Obviously on Cardano, so far, I think we are the only one. There was another small project that kind of started. Forgot the name right now. I don't know if they ever got to the full completion.
I forget it. I forgot what it was as well. That Krissy, what questions they had? We had a couple questions of the Stable Knots chats and everything like that. Krissy, you want to ask? Because I know.
Yeah, definitely. So one, are you guys having your own marketplace?
Yep.
Where you can buy and sell? Can you trade horses on it?
Yep.
Okay, great.
What's trading is horse for horse?
Trading
like
horses.
You trading your horse.
You can sell.
Trading babies, just sell and buy.
Well, trading, you can just send them around.
Same thing.
That was just the question there. If it would be easily.
Well, no, we're gonna have our own marketplace because we wanted to allow for the studding contracts, which is gonna be a smart contract, which is gonna be its own thing, and we can't just ask somebody else to do that. That makes no sense. So we kind of had to do it.
Speaking of the smart contracts, Nick, are you building all of those? Like when and then how elaborate are we going to be able to do, like to set, a set, if I want to sell you a horse, say, or a buddy of mine a horse, we could set it the first of the month to execute at the end of the month. I mean, is it going to be that easy to have that on your marketplace?
How would you?
Like on the smart contract?
Yeah, what would you program a sell? What do you mean? Like I'm selling you my baby no matter what it is?
Basically, yes. Like set person's buying his baby no matter what it is. I can have an auction, and it could be like, 3 of my friends want to have that, and they don't have it's just like a reroll. It's like a roll. So it's just another aspect of, do you want to know the stats? So you're gonna take the chance, you don't even know the color. We got some degens out here. So we've been talking about this all for. Yeah, I'm just curious if that's possible.
A lottery of the foal before it's born. We not discussed. That's interesting. That's an interesting lottery kind of thing. Yeah. The only lottery we had right now is re-rolling your Pioneer horse, which could be anything after that. So you could get the best horse or a new color or something. But no, that's interesting. An interesting mechanics. No, mostly we're auctioning horses that are already alive.
I think about that because I think of the 186 gold champagne, right? And imagine the colt That to me is the best horse on the game. It's the prettiest. It looks the most muscular, and it's a 186. They got one horse above. Imagine you set a auction. Who wants to buy? You gotta buy 5 stud fees, like buy 5, and you don't get it or whatever. So if it was a filly, who's gonna want to pay more to get that foal rather than at the end you do it later? It's kind of like the hidden
reserving, like
that's very interesting. I'm gonna think about this, but for now there was definitely a mechanics for auctioning off your stud,
right?
So instead of setting a price for the covers, you could auction it. So people, if they want your stallion that's 186 gold champagne to cover their mares, and they're gonna have to pay an auction for it,
right?
And you could so that was there. No mechanics for foals that aren't born yet, but that's interesting. Gotta think about it.
Appreciate it. Yeah, whether it happens or not, it's just like, to me, it's just like, if I know I have a 152 or I think I can get a 176, I might pay a few $100 to get that chance to get it, or who knows that color.
You want to see the stallion in the mare, you mean? So you'd see,
they're gonna have
the couple. You could buy the full while it's a question mark, right? Before you know what it is.
Like pre-buy, and then we already know we've sold out the next 6 months of babies for our Donalinos or something like that. You never know.
Yeah, it just makes it less work. Even like you said, you're trying to make it less work. You're trying to push buttons. You're not trying to make it sit in front of computers. So smart contracts are for that, right? My grass gets cut, the grass man gets paid. I don't need to ring the door and pay him.
That's true, but you need to take an action to breed, which is a transaction for which you need to sign. So you need to sign for months in advance before you can sell them, right? So you need to commit to breeding in advance so that you can sell it in advance. But maybe there's a way to do that that's proper without making a very complex smart contract like ecosystem that needs to know a lot of stuff. That'd be just 2 straightforward contracts that just look at it. That maybe, that's something I need to sit down, draw, and talk with my dad.
It's almost like it goes so many different ways. It's unbelievable.
Well, I appreciate it. Sounds like you could do it, but you're the actually one building it. So thank you for taking that input, and it would be awesome if it happens. So,
how many game developers do y'all have? Like, how big is your team? I know the main 4. But then, kind of all together. That's another question we had from E-Rock.
Good question.
I think we're 8 with me right now. Devs, just the devs.
Wow, game developers, great.
Yeah, well, there's app devs, there's
devs, all developers,
and there's a 3D viewer specialist, and there's me. I'm the game dev in a way, but so yeah, we have got smart contract specialists, because smart contracts need audits. And need to be secure, and so they need to be done by a team that's been working with. We've taken M Labs, and M Labs has built DEXs and has been through multiple audits already, and they have like hundreds, like 200 devs, I think. Not all working on Equine, but so we've got our own few devs that are dedicated to us. 3 of them, actually, 1 project lead and 2 devs, and I'm discussing with them every day, pulling their code, looking at it. And so I'm more in a management position in coding per se for the smart contracts. What I'm coding is really the physics engine, because that's what I do for a living. I've always been a scientific programmer, so it'd be weird to hire for that. And then the app devs, of course, do their own thing. There's front end, back end, well, I don't know if you know, but everything you need to build the app, and the app on mobile. And then the 3D viewer specials. Yeah, so I think we're 8 right now. 8 or 9.
Yeah, we actually had a look at that recently. Like, obviously there's 4 of us. We come with a certain set of different skills, which is why it works so well together. But we cannot do everything, and we wanted to make sure the game progresses fast. So we, try to make sure we bring the best people we can. And I think so far, we had about 50 different people somewhat involved in the project in different stages, right? So we're talking 3D, the graphic designers early when we're developing the horses and skins. We still have a few that are working now on assets for the game, that are actually improving the models, because One of the big challenges or questions were in terms of how do we want the game to look and what's the priority? Is it to make it available and possible to launch on any platform, or is it something that's gonna be the ultra realistic? We decided for now to focus on being available, right? We are always about the inclusivity, and yes, to be fair, it's not gonna be the most amazing looking game out there, but we do have people who work non-stop right now to make it look as good as possible, given the limitations of of the engine and all that.
Well, it's shut up a few PlayStation generations in the last few weeks, but the animation and the look and the excitement of it will be the graphics are good enough to make it exciting with the proper camera angles and everything. It's gonna be good. Somebody is asking if there's a training fee.
Stitches, I got a couple questions from
yeah
Stitches.
the answer was just if you race your horse once a month, it's considered trained.
Oh,
nice.
Great.
Okay.
So
and then also to go on that DAP question, I know you got to leave in a few minutes, Nick. Again, thank you for your time. I thought you had a hard stop at 9 for you, man. Will a DAP include a guild management tools? If so, what kind? As in what kind of tools they're thinking providing the guild management? You know what I mean? If you could touch on that, brother.
Yeah, we have a way, and we've thought about that for a long time. We have a way to do your guild will be managed in a way that's centralized, so that the guild master can actually kick, ban, add members, and manage his guild, right? But your guild membership will always be authenticated on the blockchain for any action that requires you to prove you are in your guild. So if you're trying to get a guild discount, let's say on the marketplace, stuff like that, there's a way to figure out that your account is your account and you're you, and you can sign with your wallet. So guild membership will be enforced by the blockchain, but the guild management itself, we wanted to keep powerful and easy to, like, if we try to make it like you've got to have an NFT to be part of the guild, we're going to mint a guild membership NFT, then you can't kick someone. It becomes very hard to manage. It's so guilds are meant to be guilds with a guild leader. It was our final decision, and it's always worked that way. And we didn't want to over Web3 the guild and break it, because let's say the mechanics of it are not mature enough, and we make one wrong move and now it doesn't work anymore. So if and when Cardano is quick and powerful for guild members, and we use maybe even Itala Prism ID, and you're in a guild that doesn't even have anything to do with equine, but we recognize your guild in our game because it's a Cardano guild or something, we're going to just keep in vogue with the times. But for now, we're making it in the app, and just verifying that you're you whenever you're trying to make an action that's guild that requires authentication for the guild.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. And Nick, last question before, and anytime you got to dip out, my man, from your end, as being the game, the developer, everything is said to be on schedule, like for the end of the year. Do you foresee that coming true? Right. And then what would you change, if anything, throughout this process? It's been a whole year. You've had your son for this year. It's been an amazing time in your life, I'm sure. Anything that you learned or you could, that you would do different from this process before you go, man? And thank you again for your time.
Great question.
Yeah, I think people underestimate the time it takes to formalize a company in a foreign country and legalize everything, and talk with the lawyers and talk with the accountants and get your audits done and get your stuff in order and sign the papers, and if you're more of the optimistic dreamer kind, a bit like I am, you hate paperwork and jumping through hoops for a lawyer across the world. I think that was a bit heavy, and it took us after the sale, like Marek said. I think there was a month or two, maybe 2 months, 2 whole months that we were not deving. We're not doing much except admin, and it was heavy and hardcore. And maybe starting that, it's hard to start before you make the sale, but please start right after the sale if you're serious, because it takes a while. So
Yeah,
we
and-
did it. So.
And we appreciate that as holders, collectors, investors. Thank you guys for not cutting corners, because that would reflect badly on the other end. So appreciate that.
Yeah, and
Well,
I would say like we weren't competing. Oh, okay.
Nope, have a good
Hey
one.
Nick, thank you, brother. Enjoy
You're
your
welcome.
weekend. Great. I can't wait to meet you at CNFT Con, man.
Yep, thank you.
Take it easy, bud.
Bye-bye.
See you. Yeah,
Hey,
I have
Marek,
about
thank you.
half an hour more.
Yeah,
Just
we'll
so you know, but
start wrapping it up here soon as
Mm.
well, man. Thank you again.
No worries. So yeah, maybe to build on that, like I wouldn't say we completely stopped for 2 months, except paperwork. We obviously the discussion on how to make the game better and how to make the mechanics better was happening, but it created this somewhat frustrating and somewhat funny situation where we're sitting on a significant funds that we couldn't spend, right? Because you cannot pay people without having all the paperwork well
Sure.
set up and having the bank account, even getting the exchange account for a company that follows the rules properly. It's a lot of work, right? So I think that's something
Absolutely.
we definitely underestimated. And also because we're so focused on the NFT sale, we just parked it, right? So we knew it will take some time. We knew it will take some effort and some investment. We did have some money invested in the game before the NFT launch, because obviously we had 10 plus 3D graphic designers working on it, so they didn't work for free. But yeah, I mean, as Nick said, that was a big one. I think there's a lot of great learning lessons. Like for me, that was an amazing year in the sense of changing an optics. I work in a very big multinational corporations. Like I've been there for a while, so I'm quite experienced with that part. But building your own business is such a challenging yet rewarding experience.
Yes.
I would highly recommend it, although
Yes.
at the same time not really, because it's also a lot of sleepless nights.
Yes.
As well.
That's great. That's awesome, Eric. And I'm so happy. I think and like y'all have an amazing team, and it shows. Every step of the way is just so structured and everything, and it goes to y'all background. I had one other question from someone from our man Doc Bow in the chat. Any tokenization? I remember y'all had in the future. Play to
I'm going to
earn.
talk about that.
Maybe it was not, just.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing discussion, not the most prioritized one now, because it's really like we are hunkering down to to get the stables ready. The time is flying very fast, right? Like
Yes.
we are 3 more weeks in this month, not even full 3 weeks. And just maybe to answer this question, because I think you did ask it earlier, and I don't think Nick had he didn't reply fully. Everything looks like it's on track, right? So we have, but the challenge is that this is like 4 different, or at least 3 different teams working at the same time, right? Smart contract, DApp, engine, all that's together. There is like we don't have crazy amount of time to spare, but so far our understanding is we should get it early enough to also test it on our end and have it ready within that deadline. Of course, stretching that deadline likely to the last day, of the quarter, and the same goes to the game, right? So there's still a lot of work to be done, and that's okay. That's part of the process. But we are not in the gold state, as they say in gaming, where the game is ready to ship. No, not yet, right? It's still a work in progress, and it will always be. If it happens that something suddenly last minute we realize, that we need more time to make sure that the connection is secure, right? Like because it's a lot of at stake here. We don't want to risk your NFTs. We don't want to risk stuff like that. If that happens, we will, as always, be very, very transparent. That's why we do those bi-weekly town halls, because we want to show people what we do, especially that a lot of what we do is not visible, right? Like we don't have like some projects starting after developing non-NFT horse racing games. So obviously they can show a lot of in-game footage because the in-game footage is already there. They're just slapping NFT on top of that, right? I forgot which one of them, but one of them definitely is like that. So yes, we've been sparse when it comes to footage and stuff like that, because it's all being worked out, right, and worked on. But so far, this has been, we seem to be on track. So we are, but talking about tokenization, yes, it's in a discussion. We will not launch the token if it's not gonna really have a use, right? So we don't want to have one of those tokens that we launch and it has some quick rise because people will speculate and then just goes into zero within the first few weeks and just stays there, right? So if we do it properly. And it's a little bit like, projects like Clay, where they took months to actually make sure token economic is correct and all that stuff. We do, we do look into this also from the perspective, like, do we need it, right? Because a lot of projects use it as a way to raise funds, which is not a bad thing, right? That's a good option. We don't need it right now, right? We do have funds. We are working with what we have, but if we feel there is a reason for that, then we will bring it in, right? And it could be when in later versions we will start having some extra, more standard play to earn elements, like, I don't know, train your horse, not just as press a button on what do you want to grow, but you want to have an interactive session. Just interact with your horse, right? Like, we know people want it. It's not going to be available right away, but maybe then you can earn some tokens, and maybe those tokens will not be, used directly for racing, but maybe you can buy some unique skins.
A skin or something.
What about betting on horse racing with tokens?
Yes,
can't do that even with tokens.
It's
not, it's tokens. It's not.
I want you guys to not. I'd rather someone else develop that, and I think that's y'all approach as well, right? Let someone else develop it, and then you guys are out of it.
I think that would be huge.
Look, we had a big discussion on that. There are certain, let's say, cultural elements to this among our team in terms of gambling in general, or personal views on that. We understand horse racing gambling is a huge part of the ecosystem. We don't want to take it away from people who want to do it, but it creates, first of all, a completely different set of challenges, right? Because gambling is even more complex than NFTs legally. It's probably not something we could do very well right away. Of course, if we spend time, we could, but we felt like we develop a good game. We kind of open the doors for people who want to build on that for the gambling platform, meaning that all the results will be on the blockchain. There's no way to cheat that. So if the system exists that can pull that data, set it up, what we do also from the design, we are also thinking about things like the game, the race itself. We could just have the race start the second it fills in, but that would limit that ability of people to make bets. So we also want to leave a bit of a window for people to see, oh, those are the horses that are racing. Let me bet on this one, right? And maybe have the automatic system build the odds and stuff like that. So we want to enable it. We will not do it ourselves. There is no plan right now. We know, and it was a tough decision because we know there is a lot of money to be made on that as well as an operator, right? But we rather focus on making the game fun, and with people playing, make it sustainable, right? Because I don't want to go into details, but the monthly costs of just having the right people in place, and I'm not even counting 4 of us. Like, we are not paying ourselves right now, right? The priority is this year is to spend all the money on making the game ready and launching. It's a significant cost, right? It's not a small amount to run a company like that. So
absolutely.
So we focus on that. We hope that enough people will race and breed to make that game possible very long term.
I foresee that.
That's awesome. Thank you for that answer. I love it.
With the excitement already.
Have that open mind.
So when's the beta launch? When do you think you'll be sending out the beta, the testing for holders?
So we are not yet I mean, for the game itself, I think it's a bit too early to say, because once we have the stables out and we are like fully moving on to the racing part, we'll announce it when we are ready. It's probably not gonna be like a huge amount of time ahead of the main game, right? We will try to break it ourselves first, but we'll have to figure out how to do it, to let you try it and let you try break it, so we can learn from that, without also maybe giving people huge advantage. I know a lot of beta games, they would like scramble the statistics, for example, right? So like so people who participate in beta are not like coming into main game already knowing, okay, my horse will do this and that, right? Like so we'll have to figure it out. We definitely want to do a little bit of this because it's a big part of gaming, right? I think for stables it's a bit simpler because, let's be honest, it's mostly a nice viewer, the ability to see your horses within the game. It's and jockeys to visualize them within the engine, see how the stats will look, right? So all the screens with the stats will be visible. I mean, the stats that are visible in the game. There is also a plan, by the way. I don't think if we said it openly or not, but ultimately as I said, the game will launch end of Q4, but we also want to have a smaller step in between where we want to launch the guilds before the game. So we ideally we will have the stables, so it's this first tangible part, so people actually feel like we are developing something, because we are actually very grateful for all the trust that we got from our project, people who own our NFTs, and we have an amazing community that's been very mature about the fact that it's not going to happen overnight, that it takes time, people understand it, but there will be this fair tangible step, and then I don't want to say specific time, but before the end of Q4, which is where we aim for the game, we want to have the guilds up so people can start actually interacting within the ecosystem, start building those guilds, putting people together, also familiarizing themselves with the system, right? So we will have some kind of chats in there as well. That was another big discussion, because I was like, oh, do we really need a chat given that there's discords and all? But ultimately it makes sense to have it all in one place. People can choose not to use it, of course, but yeah, so that's the general plan.
We love that. Real quick question. Before it's only a couple left. Again, Marek, thank you. Everyone in the chat is loving it. Y'all guys
So much
are
great
awesome.
info.
The foal, the baby policy ID, that will be different, correct? And then is there a way you guys can maybe up the royalty? Look, I'm the one who's gonna be selling the babies, right? So I'm telling you, maybe a way to get some funds is going from 2.5 to say whatever 5%. You know what I mean? On that separate policy. So okay, cool.
No, that's fair. So look, I think for the royalties, like on the marketplace, I do think we'll keep it within what we have it, which is 2 or 2.5%. I don't remember, but like we believe that, especially for such a large volume project, it's a bit unfair to go much higher. I do believe that most projects should be within, for the 10K plus or 5K plus, probably 2.5 and 5%. I know some go higher, it's their choice, and people have to decide if they're happy with it or not. But that's, I think, is a fair amount that helps building, right? Like, we are obviously getting the royalties every time people sell the Pioneer horses. That's has been a nice extra chunk of money that we can spend on hiring an extra person, for example. However, and to make it very clear, there will be a breeding fee also from our side, right? So the breeding will have a fee, which also will be a mechanics to ensure that we get the quality breeding and not so like, if we suddenly have too many people breeding, we could up it up to question, like, if the really, really poor horse sells for a 200, maybe we can make the fee to the point where people actually will not do that, right? And it's just the population management mechanics. However, so that's where we expect the profit comes. To be very frank and open, without going into details, probably breeding is where more of the funding will come than the racing, because when you think about it, most of the money that goes into racing goes back to the winners, right? 90% of the rewards goes back to the winners. The rest is distributed partially to, free races. So we want to, there will be people who will have horse, they want to race, maybe they will want to spend ADA, that's okay. We'll have some free races where you can still win ADA. It's not going to be huge ADA to win. It's not going to be too many races. We have to balance it out. But we want to give people a chance for that. So there's not that much ADA left from the racing side. Of course, once the game is running and we have a very healthy ecosystem, we'll also talk to sponsors. Like you can see, Zedrun is doing really well with that, right? They have sponsors who pay for caps, who pay for races, who pay for skins. And this way we take away the cost from people, which, by the way, I didn't know that, but that actually is very true to reality in a way, because actually in real horse racing, you don't pay for participation. That's at least what Zach told me, right? The horse owners don't pay to enter the horse into the race. All the prize winnings are paid by sponsors typically.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't think we will get there, at least anytime soon, but yeah, that's an interesting piece that I was not aware about horse racing.
Sure. Thank you for that transparency. Like you said, again, like it's really crazy to hear that. I mean, even though you guys were smart when you guys minted, I think it was like 3 million ADA on December 18th, if y'all did y'all business right or something like that. But to say y'all don't need no more money and here y'all have 8 people on your team and y'all, it's just y'all so smart with your money. I really like what I'm hearing. And again, y'all have everything thought out from you don't need them royalties because the breeding fees are going to do this and that. Yeah. So appreciate the transparency.
And look, it might change, right? Maybe we will want to do something for V2 Absolutely. That will require a significant amount, and then we'll do the skins, or we will we will figure out how to do the token to make it also useful. It's just like our ecosystem on Cardano is still relatively young and relatively small for NFTs, and we don't want to take away that liquidity more than it's needed. We know that has been, to be fair, the liquidity is there, right? Like we see people, and there's a hype mint.
Yeah.
There's more than enough data to go around, right?
Yes,
but
sir.
At the same time, it's not about that, right? Like we want to make, as I said from the beginning, we want to make a great game that, yes, will make us, successful and, make us money eventually. But we understand that the startup, and we were in a unique situation. It's amazing that actually with the help of NFT sale, we can fund the game, right? We don't have to go to VCs who will have their own opinions and try to make it different, try to make it maybe more predatory when it comes to payments and stuff like that, right? So thanks to all of you, we could actually have enough money to build it, which is unheard of before NFTs, right? So that's one of the powers of NFTs. It's like a community paying for it while getting something. Yes, it's not a share in our company.
Crowdfunding, right? In a sort.
Yeah, yes. In a way, you're right, because in crowdfunding, you also don't get the ownership of the company, right?
Sure.
You get the product. The difference is that at least you get the NFT right away, not 5 years later, maybe not exactly what they told you, right? I did participate in some Indiegogo and Kickstarter stuff, and it's like 50-50 in terms of success rate. But yeah, no, it's like we always have been transparent. Like, we are not gonna share where we spend every dollar because I don't think that's important. We just want to make it clear that yes, we still have the funds, because even now with the bear market, obviously that is a challenge, right? And that's another challenge for other founders who are thinking about starting a project, is especially when you have people who are so heavy into Cardano and so optimistic. Obviously, when we got all that data, we were like, well, let's not sell all of it right away. Let's take it, first of all, like sell some so we have enough to keep going for X amount of months. But then, it should go up, or maybe it will go down. We'll have to see. Right. So be sure, like, don't keep it all and hope it goes up. That's my recommendation. Sell enough to actually work on the project and deliver it, but try to balance it out. So it's a completely separate aspect of running a company in crypto, where you have to kind of manage that risk, which is so volatile in a way, right? Like it's a small things. Even, you wanted to sell ADA for more recently, like we had 10% swings within the last week twice, right?
Yes.
It's quite great.
It definitely brings a whole new, bankroll management runway. You need to make sure you need this much. So I love everything at the steps you're going. We're like, look, we're gonna raise this capital if we need it, and then when we extract the liquidity, it's gonna mean something if we can actually build upon it. So, look, Marek, I know you got like a couple minutes, man. This is gonna be like the last question right here, before, because my guys are gonna keep throwing at. If you guys do like a skin mint, maybe perhaps. Not a skin, excuse me, the jockey mint, but maybe we can put skins on a jockey from other projects like the Ape Society,
like
or stuff like that. Yeah, so that, like Cloud9, he recommended that. Maybe that's another way to bring other ecosystems into Equine, right? Because once like Lovelace Downs and other, once we get this running, Marek, like in Twitter Spaces, I don't think we get this on a big board actually playing. It's going to bring a whole new excitement to this ecosystem. The camaraderie, the trash talking, just the funness, I believe, is going to be there. And who knows in the future with the metaverses and anything else y'all have plans and whatever. So that would be really cool if you guys, open up for that. And then last thing from Stitches, the racing fees, is that going to be tiered through like, the 110?
And how many racing tiers?
Yeah.
How many racing tiers are there?
And this will be the last question for you, my brother.
No problem. So like let's see, I can probably stretch a little bit. Like I'm waiting for someone to come in about 10 minutes. If they're late, I might have a few extra minutes.
Great.
Anyway, to first answer on the racing fees and racing tiers, the idea, and again, those are like kind of things we will build, and it could evolve as well, right? We'll see. We don't want to say, oh, this is written in stone, and then 2 weeks in realizing it's not working, right? We are gonna work with. We always took the feedback also from the community, right? That's why also in the town hall, it's not just us talking. You can ask questions, right? And we will answer it on the spot as best as we can. But right now we are planning 5 different tiers, right? So we want to make sure that there is enough variation, because we even see with the Lovelace Downs, which by the way is an amazing fan-made game.
Cool.
It's a both blessing and a curse. The curse part is more of a joke, but like every time we run it, we get questions. Oh, is it how the game will look? Right? Yeah. We say it every time. No, it's a fan-made game by Eustacia, who is amazing. And actually behind the scene, we've got so many improvements based on like, oh, we asked, well, can you set it in a way that we can run the underground invitational easier? So right now we have it set up where like we get the horses ahead of time, we put it in the CSV file, we drop that CSV file in the screen, and it automatically loads up, right? Like amazing stuff, really fun activity. We love it. Cool. Obviously, that's not how the game will look like.
Right.
Sorry, lost a train of thoughts a bit. So we have 5. So, I know. So with this, we tried different tiers, right? Because if you put all the horses together, obviously the 170s plus are winning.
Sure.
Of course, his engine is much more simplified to ours, right? So it becomes maybe more predictable in that sense. But ultimately, we tried now to split it into 4 different tiers. So we did 2 tiers last month. We are doing 2 tiers this month. I think we are starting next week for the qualification. If anyone wants to join, be on the Discord and just observe when the announcements are flying. So 5 sounds like a good representation where even those bottom tier horses can have fun and those top guys can have a proper fight. We are still discussing how you qualify to the tiers, because it's, we don't want people to game the system too much. We are talking about having handicap option where you can get a top tier horse racing in the bottom tier if they want, but they will get a significant handicap for a fair game, right? And in terms of,
that's really cool.
And in terms of pricing, we are thinking about setting it up separately from the tiers. So that means you will have cheap races, you will have the average price races, and then you will have the high roller races. Obviously, that means you put more money in, but you win more money, right? Because it's proportionate. 90% always goes back, right? So that's to answer this question. And to answer the question about the skins and collabs, we have been very careful with that and didn't want to commit. We obviously got a lot of discussions happening. We didn't want to commit to it early on, right? We didn't want to create, mostly not to create an impression that we focus on skins instead of on the game, right? So we definitely want to have collaborations. I think it's a lovely idea to be able to race with your ape, with your, space bat, etc. So this is something that that is being discussed. So I think right now, slowly, probably faster after the stables are out, we'll start talking to some projects that are interested. So definitely, what I would say is, if the project's interested, should drop us a note. If that project dropped a note 2 months ago, we said not now. We are not yet talking, but we will want to do that. We'll have to figure out how to balance it out, because obviously that requires 3D models, how much variety you can put, right? Because obviously recreating 10K of them in 3D is not an easy task, as Clay Nation proved. It took them quite a while. They did an amazing job. So yeah, but even those don't have pants, right? It's okay.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we do want that. We want people like, and that's what Nick was saying. Like, maybe in the future, the wallet connector checks what else you have in the wallet and offers you those skins automatically. Or maybe, it will be a small fee if we decide, because if we work together with the project and we say, yeah, we can all do it together, but, it costs money to do 3D modeling and costs time. So if we need to cover it somehow, we will, that would be an option. Or if maybe it will be paid with the in-game currency, we'll have to see.
It's a lot of options. It's exciting to think of. And like I said, you guys in the Ape Society, 2 of the big brain projects that you actually got a deep dive, read 30 pages of, just, it's very deep and complex and game theory. And I really love it. And man, Marek, again, I don't want to keep you any longer, man. I know it's early over there. We appreciate it. I know the chat and the equine community has really appreciated this. Hopefully we can get you on a Twitter space and NFA crew, or Krissy and I closer to the stable launch, or do this again in the future once, the game launches and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, Zach is maybe a little more of a quiet guy than the other 3 of us, but the 3 of us, we love talking. So I'm sure whenever there's an opportunity, depending on the time zones and all, either myself, Fahad, or Nick, we can jump on. And closer to the stables, we'll obviously want to, be more visible, to bring back the attention. We did get like someone commenting recently on Twitter saying that there's no hype around Equine. And honestly, it's by design, because why hype something when it's not fully ready? Those who know what we are building are there, right? And are very engaged. And we love our Discord, even if it's a bit quieter these days, but still it's happening, right? It's not about hype. It's about building something together. And by the way, I know there have been quite a few questions rolling through the chat that we might have missed. So if anyone, we lost Chronic.
Wonder if his out. Go ahead.
So for those who are here and didn't get their questions answered, if you are on our Discord, just drop them into the ideas and questions channel, and we'll make sure to address them during our town hall in 12 hours or something like basically we try to answer those questions there. It's more focused on Q&A kind of setup.
Awesome. Yeah, well, this has been amazing. We got a lot of info on here. I hope everybody was able to keep up. If not, I know that we want to do an actual video here soon that goes really in depth, more into Equine, where we can show more of the website and our ideas of what you can do with it, so people can really understand what we're looking forward to doing if they haven't heard a whole lot about the project yet. So that's going to be on our list here coming up soon. But we really appreciate you coming in and answering these great questions that especially our big stable knot is excited about, because we'll be wanting to build a guild and, you know, and racing. So did you say, like, do you think you foresee customizable anything? So if we wanted to put Daily Chronicles on anything, or stable knots, or anyone could do something like that, is that a possibility?
So not V1, right? Not version 1, but it's definitely a discussion both for the stables and, like, you know, the racing colors as well. It's something that eventually is something we would like to have, because it's also something that happens in real life, right? So that adds a little bit complexity, but I think it's all about making the game yours, right? We want to make it, everyone feel like it's what they really want to have. And yeah, you know, I thank you for having us here, and thank you for the support. You have been great supporters from day one, and you know, I remember you've been asking a lot of tough but great questions from the start, and we appreciate that, right? Like we never shy away from answering questions. I think that's the great thing about our community. A lot of questions, a lot of discussions are there that are tough. If we know the answer is gonna be no, even if people will not like it, we'll say it, right? We are not gonna hide anything, etc. And also I wanted to extend the thank to the whole community, because as I said, it's quite amazing how great and mature our community is, right? Like we have great discussions. Yes, we have some silly discussions too, because that's part of community building. But everyone has been really great, very helpful, sharing feedback, sharing concerns, right? Obviously, not everything we do is perfect, but we learn quickly and we listen to the community. So
absolutely,
really
and it's loyal as can be. The same guys that's been in there since jump, that's in this chat here, has been in the Discord. And again, Marek, like, even though we're not in Discord, Krissy and I told you off chat, we are always spreading the word of equine. We're not hyping it too much. It's like a movie, right? It's gonna show itself in 3 months. Like, why am I gonna beat a horse for 12 months? Like, I'm gonna start pumping it, you know, just because I'm gonna get excited when the time's coming. You know what I mean? So keep building, keep grinding. If you ever need anything from Krissy and I, please don't hesitate to reach out. We cannot wait to meet you guys in like 5 weeks or whatever, 4 weeks. It's so crazy. It's so quick. So again, from Krissy and I, much love to you, Marek, and the whole team. Please, everyone, like, subscribe, leave comments below, share this bad boy to get the presence of equine out there, because it needs to be known. And make sure to go follow that Twitter, keep up with that roundtable, and what, like, you know, in a 10. What time you guys doing? It's like 10 hours or so, Marek? 9, 10 hours?
12. I think it's exactly 12 hours. It's like 9:30 EST AM on Sundays.
There you go. 12 hours from now, guys. Always 2 times a month. They got the most transparent team on Cardano blockchain. Again, Marek, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Krissy, any last words?
I just wanted to show their YouTube channel on here. You can go and check them out. They've got some videos with a lot of past alpha they've done. And then, you know, you did see their Twitter. Please go follow them here. Over 17,000 followers. They give all their information on there. Check out their Discord. And other than that, yeah, just thank you for being here. We appreciate you a lot. Please check them out. And like Chronic said, we don't have to go very far into it for people to get hyped. It hypes itself. Yes. All we do is barely talk about our ideas of breeding, and people get crazy excited because they see the potential very easily. So kudos to this project.
And last thing, we're going to go ahead. Everything, links are in the bio. Marek, Nick, their Twitter, their YouTube, Equine, their Twitter, Equine's Twitter. So please make sure to give these guys a follow. You know, again, thank you for your time, everybody. We're going to go ahead and end this. Please like and subscribe again. And you have a blessed weekend.
Everyone, take care. Thank you so much again.